Okay.
Perfect. Perfect. So Martin, really thank you for this interview, for your time. And I have a lot of questions for you, but I'm going to try to be quick.
Yeah.
So when you invented the first cell phone, did you imagine the impact that this technology will have decades later?
No, well, you know, Carla, the one thing we knew is that someday everybody would have a cell phone and that they would communicate by cell phones. And we had a story that, or a joke I would call it, that someday when you were born, you would be assigned a phone number. And if you didn't answer the phone, you had died. So we knew that this was going to be ubiquitous, but how could we ever have imagined that a cell phone would have a camera, would have the internet, it would have a high-powered computer? In 1973, none of those things had even been invented. So no, we did not imagine that that all of these things would be in a modern cell phone.
Now we have all the time this small computer in our hand, and we wake up with the cell phone, we go to bed with the cell phone. And how you use this technology? Because we use it all the time, but the inventor of the cell phone, how use this technology and this kind of new smartphones. We now use more smartphones than feature phones, but this is other question. But now how you use it?
Yeah, well, I'm ashamed to admit that my phone, you know, I always use the latest smartphone, and so I never really learned how to use any phone. So I have to tell you that I use only a small number of features on the phone. I am not an avid enthusiast. I don't carry my cell phone in my hand all the time, and I don't know every feature on the phone, but I do use email religiously. You can reach me anytime. I text only occasionally. I use FaceTime when people call me with FaceTime, but I'm not a slave to my cell phone like some people are, including my wife. You know, when I go to a restaurant and I see people sitting around the table and everybody is looking at their cell phone, it amazes me, because to me, people interaction is very important. And the idea that you're sitting there looking at your cell phone, first of all, I think it's impolite, but besides that, it's just a wrong use of the phone. On the other hand, I must tell you that their cell phone has revolutionized life in very positive ways as well. So, and that's why I very much appreciate how the cell phone is revolutionizing education, healthcare. It's making people more productive. So those things are really important. The idea of having a cell phone take over your life, that I don't think is so important.
And as you say, all these good things that cell phones have, in Mexico and Latin America, these devices helps to close the digital gap. But you think that we need more knowledge about how we need to use the technology? As you said, you are not a slave of the smartphone or the cell phone. Do you think that people need to learn how to give a good use of the cell phones, and in other hand, learn to use it for have a better digital economy, better social gender gap be closed, and other issues that this technology could help?
Absolutely. That was a extraordinarily intelligent question, because you think about it, the cell phone has only been with us in a large quantity for only 20 years or so. I think we are still learning how to use a cell phone properly. And it takes sometimes a generation, sometimes 2 generations for a new technology to really be adopted properly. And the example I could give you is even in the States. I don't know how it is in Mexico, but in the States, of more than 40% of students in the United States, do not have access to the internet by cell phone. 40%. So, what's the reason for that? Well, maybe 20% are in rural areas where they don't even have connectivity. There's no cellular service. And another 20% can't afford it because cell phone service is so expensive in this country. So I think that's a travesty. I don't think it's possible for a person to be educated properly without having full-time access to the internet. You know, the student of the future will be educated because they will be curious, and anytime they want to know something, they can look it up. They will know more than their teachers know. So, you know, the whole role of the teacher will change. When it comes to healthcare, the example that I give when I tell people about how the cell phone will revolutionize healthcare, my examples are in Mexico, not in the US, because there are places in Mexico where there is a service to people from doctors, say in Mexico City, who are treating people in a small town that never has had a doctor. But now they have a doctor remotely. There are studies were done in Tijuana where they created a device that attaches to a cell phone and that allows an ultrasound to be done on a pregnant woman. So now remotely, a doctor can look at an unborn baby. And that research work was done in Mexico. So the research that shows what the future will be is happening very well. But the only way this can completely be done properly is for everybody to have this. So cell phone service is becoming like water and other things. It's an essential service. It's not optional. We need to have 100% of our population have access to these fundamental services, to healthcare, to education, to the ability to make themselves more productive.
And in other hand, as all technology, cell phones have brought issues of improper use like fraud, robbery, extortion, bullying. How can we prevent this kind of bad uses of this technology?
Well, as I say, you know, we have a new service and we still are learning how to do these things. But I'm on a committee in the US called the Technology Advisory Committee. And we are working very hard with our Federal Communications Commission to try to solve some of these problems. Because what you say is exactly true. One example that I think we have solved is until recently, if somebody stole a cell phone, if they robbed a cell phone from somebody, they could use that cell phone and run charges up for the other person. Well, that's no longer true, because now if you steal a cell phone and it's reported, the carriers, at least in the States, are required to turn that cell phone off and to prevent that theft from being successful. So I know there are still many problems, but I'm sure that we are going to attack them one at a time and solve them. But if you think about every technology that we have, until we learn how to do it, leaves open the possibility of fraud, and we have to keep battling that. That is one of the challenges of technology, is that people learn how to use the technology in ways that were not intended, and that's a constant battle between the good and the bad. My only belief is that there is more good than bad with the cell phone. So I hope that people understand that, and that we keep solving the fraud problems that you talk about, and allow everyone else to benefit from the good things.
And in these years, you create a lot of technology companies, and all side by side with Arlene Harris. What do you learn from her in all these years?
Well, by the way, I'm going to answer that question. I did want to mention to you that even when I was a child, people complained about new technology. Going back to your old question, they said that, you know, radio is going to destroy our children because they're spending all their time listening to the radio. And then television came along and they said our society is going to collapse because people are going to become couch potatoes and they will spend their whole lives sitting there watching television. But somehow we are surviving and we solved that problem. I have great confidence in people, and somehow we're solved that. One of the luckiest things that has happened to me in my life is when I encountered my wife, Arlene Harris. She's much smarter than I am, and I am blessed to be with her, aside from the fact that I love her very much. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to spend your life with somebody that's smart. But I'm, as I say, I'm very blessed by having Arlene here with me. We are complementary. You know, she is a superb engineer, although she has never gone to college. She never studied engineering, but she has a very curious mind. And when she digs into something, when she tries to understand it, she understands it very well. So Arlene is now an advisor to the Institutes of Design at 2 universities. She is also an advisor to the business school at my alma mater, Illinois Institute of Technology. And so I think she is her value as an advisor has been recognized. And when we work together in business, we have a complementary attitudes. One thing that you will recognize about me is that I'm an optimist. I just know that everything is going to work out for the best. I enjoy meeting any person because everybody that I meet contributes something to my life. Everybody has a different viewpoint. I believe that everybody in existence today is different than everybody else. Not only that, because of the complexity of genetics, everybody is different today than anybody that has ever lived before or ever will live. So I glory in that difference. And my wife is a skeptic. Whenever she sees something, she thinks of all the things that could go wrong. just like you were talking about all the bad things about the cell phone. That's the one attribute of Arlene that I do not appreciate. I want to think about good things all the time. I want to be happy all the time. So we are complementary in that regard, because a good engineer has to predict what could go wrong and predict and keep that from happening. So we communicate well enough. So when we work on business together, somehow I think we both bring something to the party. We both bring something to the situation to make it better. But I don't think we would ever have a successful business if it wasn't for my wife's participation.
For me, you are like the perfect match.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope you would know that nothing is ever perfect. So once in a while, you will find us battling with each other. But somehow the battles always end up with me kissing her and admitting that I was wrong. So that's the perfect combination.
And now the technology leave a transformation, and also we saw things like the cyber war. What do you think about this? And please give me a last message for Mexican people that want to know more about technology, and all these girls that want to study something related with engineer and technology.
Well, that's a very difficult question, Carla, because if you say everybody is different from everybody else, some people have an interest in technology, other people have an interest in art. All of those things are important. The most important thing to understand about technology is, first of all, this technology is based upon science. And if you really want to be a technologist, you have to learn the science first. But the second important thing is to know that technology has no meaning unless it solves the problems of people. And that's what engineers do. Engineers try to apply science to solve people's problems. Without the people part, it's not technology. It's curiosity, it's interesting, but it's not really technology unless people are involved. And a lot of academics don't understand that. I see too many academics that are focused on the science. The science is important, but at some point we have to understand that it is the reason for doing all these things. The reason for education is solving the problems of people. There is no reason, no logical reason for anybody being poor with today's technology. Just should not be the case. And yet we have poor people. Somehow that problem has to be solved. And I'm confident that it will be sooner or later. But it's a challenge that we have at this moment. The most important thing that I would say to any student, the most important thing that you do in your life is to continue learning. You know that I'm 93 years old, and I still look forward every day to learning something new. The interesting part about that is that if you stop learning, you lose the ability to learn. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but learning is like every other skill. If you don't practice it, if you don't use it, you lose that ability. There's a very scary thing, a very frightening fact about learning, is that if you stop learning, you lose the ability to learn. Can you imagine that, Carla? that somebody is so happy with their life, they're so satisfied with their life, they decide, I don't want to know anything more. I'm just going to play golf from now on and retire. And if they decide sometime in the future they want to learn something new, they don't even have that ability. That to me is the scariest thing I could imagine. The most exciting thing to me is to learn new things, to have new perspectives on life. I cannot tell you how many times that I have thought about how I was in the past, and I think, boy, was I stupid 10 years ago, because I'm a new person now because I've learned so many new things. So this is the only advice that I give people that I have great confidence in. Never stop learning.
Keep learning. Perfect. So, Martin Cooper, thank you very much for your time, for your patience with my bad English. And thank you very much. And I hope that we could talk later and talk about the future of the technology in another time.
Carla, you call on me anytime. I'm available. Your English is impeccable. I understand you perfectly, so you should not worry about that. So it was a great experience for me to be with you. And I'm, as I say, I'm available for you anytime. I love to talk, by the way, about the future of technology, because I think we are only in the very beginning now. We are just learning how to use these new tools. And I look forward to the time when everybody has these tools, when everybody has been educated that way, where everybody has the advantages of healthcare and education, 100% of people, not just the richest people and the people in the city. So anytime you want to talk about it, I'm available. Great pleasure to meet you.